On today's show, the Cavs get a series opening win over the Miami Heat. Ty Jerome, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland all had great games. There's a few things to clean up, and there's so much to talk about. We're going to do that on this edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name's Danny Cunningham. You might know me for my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my Substack, The Inside Shot, 92.3 The Fan, Cleveland Magazine, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. A proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, because right now new FanDuel customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. It's $250 in bonus bets when that first $5 bet wins. The Cleveland Cavaliers open up their first round series against the Miami Heat with a 121-100 win. They take a 1-0 lead. And the story of this game for me was the play of the backcourt. It wasn't just Ty Jerome. It wasn't just Donovan Mitchell. It wasn't just Darius Garland. It was all three of those guys. All three of those guys had fantastic games for Cleveland. And I want to start with Donovan because he led the way in scoring. He had 30 points. It's his 7th consecutive game one of a postseason series where he has scored at least 30 points, which ties the all-time record. Michael Jordan has done that twice. He has 2 separate streaks of 7 game ones where he scored 30 points or more in it. So obviously Donovan in some pretty good company as far as that goes. And his outside shot wasn't necessarily there for most of the night against Miami. He started off slow. I think he missed his first 6 threes before he ended up making a couple of them in the second half of this game that were some important shots for the Cavs. I do think that he needed to get it going, and I think that him getting it going was certainly beneficial to Cleveland down the stretch in this one. But I thought that the way he was able to get to the basket, and he had, and I brought this up in the Instant Reaction podcast that you may or may not have listened to earlier, but he had this left-handed reverse layup in the second half that was just absolutely nasty. And he was able to get to the rim, kind of use his strength and use his explosiveness and finish around the basket. And I thought that he did a really good job of setting the tone. I think in this time we've certainly seen game ones be treated as feel outs, right? Like that's kind of the old thing with LeBron. He was always going to take the first game of a playoff series as a feel out game and see how the opponent is playing and kind of maybe slowly wade his way into the series, right? Donovan is like the exact opposite of that. It just feels like Donovan's going to jump into that pool and like head first. He's going to go for it right away. And I thought that was really on display. Thought he was really good in both halves for the Cavs. And I thought that they needed him to be, because Donovan, as we know, had a great season. He should finish first team All NBA. He should finish 5th in MVP voting. I think those things will happen. But so often for him, it's been about more than just the box score stuff. And I thought it was about more than just the box score stuff on Sunday night against Miami. And I'm going to bring up another stat, which of course is a box score thing, but he had 4 steals in this game. I thought that this was one of the best defensive games Donovan Mitchell has played. And it wasn't perfect. It's never going to be perfect defensively. But I thought that his compete level, the fact that it felt like he was on the floor for every loose ball we saw, the fact that he was able to get his hand in there so often. And I thought that that was the type of thing that kind of sent a message to Miami, kind of sent a message to his own team too. The more that I think about it, like it's not the Cavs are the 1 seed. They won 64 games. I think it's a really easy thing to say, we can kind of take our time to figure this out and to get back after having a week off. And I do think there was concern, and Kenny Atkinson even mentioned it before the game on Sunday that, there was a chance they'd just come out rusty because they hadn't played a basketball game in, well over a week. The last time that the Cavs were full strength was 2 weeks before this date. That was when Donovan Mitchell hurt his ankle against the Sacramento Kings in a loss. That was the last time that everybody for the Cavs played. So I do think it was fair to expect them to be rusty. I don't think that they necessarily came out as rusty, but I thought that Donovan doing all the little things, doing the things more than scoring. And of course, the scoring was needed, and the scoring is the thing that's going to stand out most. But to me, it was the defense that he played. I thought he played an excellent defensive game. I thought he was everywhere that he needed to be. And I did too think that the Cavs did a really good job defensively. And I'll talk about this coming up in segment number 2. But I thought they did a really good job applying ball pressure on Miami, where it felt like the Heat's lead guards, so guys like Tyler Hero, Davion Mitchell when he was in the game, it felt like they were being pressured much closer to half court than what we're used to seeing the Cavs do. It felt like the Cavs really did a good job of making Miami uncomfortable in that aspect. And I think Donovan was a big part of that. I thought Darius was part of that too. I thought that he competed really well defensively. He, of course, had a really good offensive game. And I do think it was a really big deal. And I think it's a great sign moving forward that both Donovan and Darius had really good games on the same night, because that has not been something that since the All-Star break we've seen very frequently. Think to the good games that Darius Garland had down the stretch that I did take as a positive sign. I thought was, a good thing heading into the postseason for the Cavs. But what was true in those games? Donovan Mitchell was out with a sprained ankle, and Donovan certainly had some good games too, but those would be games where either Darius was not playing or Darius didn't necessarily have a good game himself. So I thought it was a really, really good thing. Like, that might be the number one overall thing that I take away from this game in a positive sense, is that the Cavs did a lot of things well. They have things they can do better. There's no doubt about that. We will talk about that in segment number 3. But 2 of their 3 best players had really good games on the same night, and Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. And that, to me, is something they're going to need more of. I don't know that it always has to be Donovan and Darius both having good games this night, but I do think that they need to have 2 of their 3 best players have really good games in the playoffs more often than not. That was the case. And Evan, I don't think, had a great game in this one against Miami. I thought that he'd be better offensively, especially when he hit a 3 early on. I thought, Evan's going to show up, and he just didn't necessarily have a great game. But the fact that Darius did, that he was 5 of 9 from 3, I thought was a really, really good thing and a very positive sign. And then, of course, Ty Jerome was awesome. I posted on social media that it's just like, if you didn't, and I don't think it was fair to expect Ty to have the exact stat line that he had, where he had 28 points. He had 16 points in the fourth quarter. He was awesome. He was a big reason why the Cavs were able to ultimately pull away and win by 20 plus in this game, because Miami kept fighting back the way that you would expect Miami to keep fighting back in this game, because they're the Heat and that's what they're going to do. They're just not going to let go of the rope most often. But Ty was the one that really pushed this so far ahead that Miami, I don't want to say let go of the rope, because that's not true, but where Miami just ran out of time, essentially, where it became clear that, okay, they're not going to win this game. Ty was great in the fourth quarter. Ty was great overall. If you've watched the Cavs this year, and if you're listening to this podcast, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you've probably watched the Cavs this year quite a bit. So I don't necessarily think I need to explain what Ty did all year, but I think if you watch Ty this year and you watch the way that he would show up in these big moments, particularly, I'm not saying that him scoring 28 points is something we should have expected, because it's not. But I don't think it was crazy to expect Ty, who has never played in a playoff game prior to Sunday night, I don't think it was crazy to expect him to go out there and just fit in and have a good game. Now, 28 points is not what I would have expected. I would not have expected him to go 5 of 8 from 3. I would not have expected him to go 10 of 15 from the floor. I would not have expected Rocket Arena to be chanting Ty Jerome at points in this game. Those are things that I didn't have on my bingo card. But the more and more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? This just kind of considering who Ty has been all year, this kind of makes sense. Now, the Cavs can't count on him to score 28 points a game in the playoffs. Like if Ty Jerome becomes a 28 point per game guy in the postseason, the Cavs are going to win the title and they're going to do it very easily. That's just not going to happen. But he's capable of doing this from time to time. I wouldn't bet on him doing this every single night, but he's capable of it. And I just think the fact that he is capable of it and the way that he operated this game with a calmness that we saw from him so frequently this year, I thought was really, really good. And that was the thing that I kind of questioned. Like, I didn't think the moment was going to be too big for Ty. And we have seen it be too big for guys the first time in the playoffs too. And we don't necessarily think of Ty as a young guy because he's, 27 years old. It's not as if he is some rookie, but this is the first time he's been in the spot. And those lights can get bright, as we've seen here before. So for him to not only play as well as he did, but I think play with the calmness and the right demeanor, the way that he did against Miami on Sunday night, to me, that's the number one thing that stands out. Because he's not going to have 28 points every night. He's not going to have 5 threes every night. He's probably not going to play 26 minutes in every postseason game. Like, would it surprise you if we get to the end of this series, whether that's game 4, 5, 6, or 7, and Ty Jerome doesn't play more than 30 minutes in any game? No, I think I would be surprised if he reached 30 minutes in any game. But the thing that stood out to me, aside from the scoring, aside from the fact that Rocket Arena was chanting Ty Jerome, was how calm Ty was able to navigate things. Now, of course, he's the guy that's going to wear his emotions on his proverbial sleeve when he does things well. But I'm more so speaking about between the whistles. Like when the basketball was in his hands, there was just a sense of calmness. Like he never got sped up. And I think when it's your first time going through the postseason, I think it's a really easy thing to get sped up, and Ty not getting sped up and still playing at the Ty Jerome speed that has made him so successful. I think that was a really good sign, not only obviously for what he was able to do against Miami on Sunday, but what he could look like in the rest of this postseason for the Cavs. Now, I mentioned the defense. I thought that was really, really good. Miami still put up some good numbers. I want to talk about what I thought from that and a couple of things Kenny Atkinson had to say. We're going to do that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, you know what time it is. It's playoff season. That means big performances and even bigger rewards. And DoorDash is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA playoffs. That's this playoffs. Just started. It's called They Swoosh, You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more. Use the code WINGSTOP50, that is WINGSTOP50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. What better combination is there than that? Offer valid noon to midnight the day after the game. Terms do apply. Like I said, sign up for Dash Pass to unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. When any player scores 50 or more in a playoff game, Dash Pass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the next day with a $20 order or more and code WINGSTOP50. That is Dash Pass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms do apply. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And make sure you're also subscribed to the Locked On Cavs daily newsletter. It's your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. And if you sign up right now, you'll be entered to win either a $2,500 Best Buy gift card, a $300 Game Time gift card, or a $200 Fanatics gift card. It's easy and free to enter. Simply subscribe between right now and April 30th to be automatically entered to win. You can sign up today at LockedOnDaily.com. That is LockedOnDaily.com. I thought the Cavs were really strong defensively against Miami on Sunday night. And I understand that the Heat still shot the ball relatively well. They shot 48% from the floor. They shot just a tick under 42% from three. But I felt as if, and maybe this will not be true moving forward, but I felt as if on Sunday, Miami shot the ball above what their expectations should have been. I actually came away very impressed with how well Miami converted some of the scoring chances they had against the Cavs, because quite frankly, I didn't think they got a ton of good looks. I thought a lot of the threes, and of course there were some, like there was one Tyler Hero hit at the top of the key that I don't know if it was Donovan Mitchell that got lost or Isaac Okoro that got lost, but somebody turned him loose and he hit a wide open three. That's an easy shot that Tyler Hero is going to make like 7 out of 10 times because he's a really good shooter. But those opportunities I felt were few and far between. And the thing that stood out to me that, and I mentioned this in the first segment, the ball pressure on Miami's perimeter players was really, really good in this one. That was, I thought, a big boost for the Cavs. And part of it is Miami's playing their third game in 5 nights. They've been in 3 different cities. They played Wednesday, they played Friday, they played Sunday. That's a tough draw when 2 of those games are win or go home, and then one is game 1 of the playoffs against the 64-win team. That's a really tough draw. But I thought the Cavs did a really good job of taking advantage of what should have been a tired Miami team because they put a lot of pressure on the Heat. And I thought that was a smart thing to do. It was a point of emphasis for the Cavs, and I thought it was right for it to be a point of emphasis for the Cavs in this game. I thought that the guards did a really good job defensively, and the 3 guys I talked about in the first segment, Ty and Donovan and Darius, like none of those guys are going to be confused with all defense players, but I thought they really competed, and that's kind of all you can ask of them. And I thought because of how good the Cavs were on the perimeter, what that did was not only limit Miami's 3-point shooting, like in terms of the volume of threes they were able to get up in this game. They shot just 31 threes, which the Cavs are going to be happy with. Like if Cavs allow 31 3-point attempts per game, I think they'll be pretty good with that. Now, it's not as if Miami is near the top of the league in 3-point attempts, but they do take in the regular season 37 per game. So holding them below their average, I do think was a really good start to the postseason as far as that goes. Now, give Miami credit. They hit some that I thought were pretty tough shots. Like Andrew Wiggins hit a couple at the end of the shot clock. Just felt like, man, it's a really tough shot. If you're going to make that, there's kind of nothing that you can do. But the other thing that I thought the Cavs did so well, and this starts on the perimeter, but it is truly a team defense thing. Miami only took 5 attempts inside the restricted area in this game. And a couple of them were finishes on lobs. Bam Adebayo finished. A couple of them were putbacks, but like Miami could not get to the rim against the Cavs. And if that keeps up, if the Cavs are able to keep Miami away from the restricted area and the way they were, I don't know if that is sustainable, but they were incredibly impressive at it. If that is going to stay the same, like if the Cavs can sustain that, keeping Miami not necessarily entirely out of the paint, because like Tyler Hero was able to get to some floaters. Bam made a couple of like turnarounds in the paint. That's going to be there. They're going to find ways to do that. Those guys are too talented not to. But keeping them out of the restricted area the way the Cavs did, I thought was the most impressive thing that they did defensively. Now, Miami made all 5 attempts that they had in the restricted area. I know a couple of them were finishes on lobs. I know a couple of them were putbacks. It wasn't as if they had a layup line. Like, how many times did you see the Heat just get to the basket for a layup in this game? Once, I think, maybe. Like, it was not something that they frequented. And I think that is kind of the best thing that you can say about this Cavs defense. And if they can do that, I think that they're going to be really, really happy with the results in this series, because I thought that the shot quality Miami got was so much less than the shot quality the Cavs got. Like it felt like, and I felt this way watching a couple of other games earlier this weekend, but it felt as if even if the score was close at times, and again, give Miami credit for keeping this close, it felt as if even though the score was close at times, the Cavs were getting to what they wanted to get to offensively much easier than what Miami was able to get to or wanted to get to on their end. Now, Miami made a bunch of tough shots, and you got to give them credit for doing so. But I think, and I said this on the Instant Reaction podcast right after the game, but I think if you play this game out like 10 times, just the same exact stuff, except the results can change, I don't know that Miami shoots this well more than 2 times out of those 10. like it kind of felt like an outlier performance. Now, again, they've got good shooters. Like it's not crazy that Tyler Hero made a few threes. But I just think that the quality of looks the Cavs gave up, I think they should be really happy with this. Like, I thought that this was a good defensive performance. I thought the Cavs looked locked in. I thought they looked ready to go. That's kind of the other thing that comes out of this. It's like, okay, the playoffs are here. And I didn't necessarily have questions about whether or not they would be locked in, but you always do look for that early on. And overall, I thought the Cavs looked really focused in this game. Now, that doesn't mean that there are not things for them to fix, because there are things that need to be better. We're going to talk about the play on the wing. We're going to talk about DeAndre Hunter, Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade. We're going to talk about that stuff. And I do still have one thing Kenny Atkinson said that I want to get into. We're going to do that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs, they're here. Finally, we've been waiting forever, and FanDuel giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action, because right now when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. You got to win one $5 bet. $250 in bonus bets are yours if you're a new FanDuel customer. That sounds like an incredible deal, because it is an incredible deal. Maybe for your first $5 bet, you want to bet on Cleveland to win the first round series against Miami. Well, right now, you're not going to get great value for that, because the Cavs are minus 8,000 to beat the Heat. But what you could do is, okay, the Cavs are going to win. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down and we're going to bet the series correct score. Cleveland Cavaliers to sweep. Well, you can get that at plus 124. Cavs to win it in 5 games, 4-1, plus 172. Now we have found the value. A little bit trickier. You don't just get to say the Cavs win. You got to come into games, but you can turn that $5 into a win there, and $250 in bonus bets if you're a new FanDuel customer. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Again, that is FanDuel.com, or download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show on YouTube. And if you're watching right now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network. This was not a perfect game for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I thought they played well. I didn't think they played great. I think that they have several more levels that they can get to. But considering that this was their first playoff game, I do think that it should be looked at as a success. And I am going to say that about any playoff game the Cavs win. Anytime you win a playoff game, it's a success. Playoff games are very, very difficult to win. Doesn't matter if the opponent is the 37-45 Miami Heat, or if it's the finals and they're facing the 68-14 Oklahoma City Thunder. They are all difficult to win. That said, the Cavs can improve upon what they did. And I thought it was impressive that the Cavs were able to win, despite the fact that I don't think they got very good play from their wings. And the one thing that I was sitting there thinking, like, you know what? I wonder why Max Strus didn't play more in this game. Because between him, DeAndre Hunter, Isaac Okoro, and Dean Wade, I thought Max was very clearly the best of that bunch today. Now, was Max perfect? No, of course not. But I thought he was good enough. He hit 3 threes, didn't necessarily do a ton of the other stuff. You do know Max is always going to compete. And it sort of felt like Kenny Atkinson was searching on that wing for something that worked. Like Isaac Okoro, for the most part, I thought defended fine. Offensively, the first 3-pointer he took went off the side of the backboard. The next 3-pointer he took, I believe, was an air ball that missed the rim long. He took another 3-pointer that, like, the arc on it was super high and it looked weird. And it just looked like it never had a chance of going in. There was another possession where, like, he caught the ball and couldn't get it out of his hands fast enough. I don't want to say that he was scared of the moment, because I do think we've seen Isaac have good postseason moments before, but this was not a good offensive game for him. And I was a little surprised that he even played as much as he did, where he played 12 minutes, just because it was not good offensively. Now, defensively, it was fine. DeAndre Hunter, defensively, it was fine. Offensively, it was not good. He missed all 4 shots that he took. Didn't take any threes, which that was a little weird to me. He missed a wide open layup that just short armed it. I'm very curious to see how those guys in particular bounce back in game 2, because the Cavs are going to need better play on the wings. They can get away with it in this game, partially because Miami was probably a little gassed and because the guard play was so good. But if Ty Jerome doesn't have the night he has, or if Donovan Mitchell or if Darius Garland don't have the nights they have, I don't know that this game feels as good for the Cavs because they didn't get what they need on the wing. And I think that's going to be a thing to keep an eye on. I will say, and I don't know if we want to consider Sam Merrill a wing or a guard. I thought Sam was really good. I know he only had 6 points. He made 2 threes on 4 attempts, but I thought he really, really played well defensively. I thought he moved the ball well too. He had 4 assists in this game. Like Sam, I thought played a pretty good game by his standards, and I think that he can play in this series. I don't think that there's an issue with Miami maybe playing him off the floor. Now, Kenny did play 10 guys in this game, like while the game was still going on. Obviously, he emptied the bench at the end of the game for the final minute and a half or whatever, but he played the starting 5 plus Ty Jerome, Sam Merrill, DeAndre Hunter, Isaac Okoro, and Dean Wade. All 10 guys played. I am curious what that rotation looks like in game 2, because as we know in the NBA, as the series grows longer, the rotation grows shorter. And Kenny wanted to play 10 guys because that's who the Cavs have been. That is what has gotten them there. And I would anticipate if the Cavs win this series, I don't know how many guys are going to be in the rotation at the end of the series, but let's say they win this series and move on to face Indiana or Milwaukee. I would imagine they're going to start that series playing 10 guys. And you can kind of see who can fit and who doesn't, who makes sense in a series and who doesn't. I'm very interested to see in game 2. And of course, we have 2 days to talk about this, so I'm not going to get into this big time. But I am interested to see what the rotation looks like and how different it is in game 2 compared to game 1. Now, the one thing that Kenny did say after the game that really stuck out to me is they believe Miami's going to make them better. And the Cavs believe they're going to win this series, and they should believe they're going to win this series. They're a 64-win team facing a team that won 37 games. They should believe they win this series. They will win this series. And I mentioned this on the Instant Reaction podcast briefly. But Miami's going to push them. They are. I still think even after tonight, even after the Cavs win by 20, I think Miami's going to win a game in this series. I don't think that the Cavs will sweep. I think Miami finds a way to get a win. And that's because I have a lot of respect for what the Heat have done, particularly in this spot. I think that their season has been so strange this year with all of the Jimmy Butler stuff, with the fact that they've had so many pieces and parts that have been moving around all year, that it's hard to get a feel for who they actually are as a team. And of course, Erik Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in basketball. I think with all of those things, it's hard for me to say, no, that team's not going to win a game in the playoffs. Like, I just don't know that I see that. Now, maybe it happens and I'm wrong, but that's not necessarily what I think is going to happen. But I think that no matter what, the Cavs are going to face adversity in this series. Maybe it comes as soon as game 2. I thought that there were moments when Miami cut it to, I believe, 6 points in the second half, that the Cavs had some big moments. Like, they had game pressure is what I would call it, where the game's not decided. I don't think that they were ever necessarily in danger of losing. Like, I didn't sit in my seat inside Rocket Arena and at any point go, oh man, the Cavs are going to blow this. That never entered my mind. But I do think that they needed to out-execute the Heat in the fourth quarter, and I think that's a good thing. I think this series is a great thing for Kenny Atkinson because this is his first playoff series as a head coach in a long time. Now, obviously, he's been around Tyronn Lue with the Clippers. He's been around Steve Kerr with the Warriors. So he's been in the playoffs every year, basically, since he left Brooklyn. But it's a little bit different when you're a head coach. And I have certainly gained enough respect for Kenny over this year that I've just heard too many good things from people that know him far better than I do and that know the game better than I do about how good of a coach he is. And I do believe that. So at looking up and down the Eastern Conference, like Joe Mazzulla is a fine coach. I don't think Doc Rivers is a great coach. I think Tibbs is a fine coach. I think Rick Carlisle is a really good coach. I think Jamal Mosley is a fine coach. I think JB Bickerstaff's a fine coach. I think Erik Spoelstra is one of the best coaches ever. And this is one of the only opponents that I look at and say the Cavs don't have a coaching advantage here. But I do think that because of that, Kenny Atkinson will be better moving forward. If the Cavs get out of this series, and again, I expect them to, I think we all expect them to, unless you're a Heat fan in the comments, which there were several. Very, very impressive to see how many Heat fans commented on previous Locked On Cavs videos on YouTube. But I do think that this is something that will, facing the Heat, and I know I talked about the path of least resistance, maybe being Atlanta or Chicago earlier before the playoffs began. Facing the Heat's going to force the Cavs to become better. It will. They need to become better to win this series. They'll do it. They will grow. But I think that this is actually, I don't want to say I flip-flopped, but I do think that this is the best path for them now because they're going to have to grow. They're going to have to fight. Miami's going to make them earn it. They will earn it. They'll get it done. But Miami's going to make them earn it. They're not going to lie down. The Heat could have laid down at several points tonight. They were down by 16 in the second quarter. Like I said, third game in 5 nights, 3 playoff games basically in 5 nights in different cities against different teams. That's a really tough spot to be in. I actually expect Miami to push the Cavs on Wednesday. I think Wednesday is going to be a very, very interesting game because if Miami is who they've been for the last, I don't know, decade since LeBron left, where they're going to fight for everything, they're going to fight on Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be I think, a big spot for the Cavs. And I'm very interested to see what it looks like for the Cavs to get it done. But thank you for making Locked On Cavs today your first listen. Thank you for making it your first listen every day. I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys liked the instant reaction pod that I put up very late Sunday night. I'm planning on putting up podcasts immediately, maybe not immediately, but as soon as I can after Cavs games from the arena. Obviously now, if you're watching, I'm not in the arena. I'm back in my home studio, so this probably sounds a little bit better, and it certainly looks a little bit better having a backdrop, although I think having the floor at Rocket Arena is a pretty good backdrop too. But let me know if you like those podcasts, if you want more of them. I'm going to plan on doing those throughout the postseason. Hopefully, as I hit the road, as other people come to Cleveland, I can, maybe have hosts of the other podcasts on, and we can kind of do a crossover episode, but we will see. But thank you for making this your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching on YouTube, as we get out of here, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. I'll be back tomorrow talking more about the Cleveland Cavaliers.